Average rent prices have hit a new unwanted record, jumping to $610 per week.
If it feels like renting is crazy expensive right now, you're not wrong.
Rental increases are happening right around the country. Auckland, Taranaki, Manawatu, Nelson, Tasman and Canterbury all rose more than 10%.
Over the past few years, there's been a steady increase in rental prices nationwide, including in key education hubs like Auckland, Hamilton, Wellington and Christchurch.
Here in Auckland, where Barfoot and Thompson manages about 17,000 properties, the average weekly rent is now $671.
A lively buzz in the streets surrounding Auckland Uni, but empty seats remain in lecture theatres, with a growing number of students being forced to skip class in favour of work. It's all to keep up with the rising cost of living, in particular rent. And with a growing number of students feeling unsupported now more than ever, it's hoped in the meantime the appeal of tertiary study isn't lost for good.
Hi, my name is Nugi. I am from Indonesia and I am studying Masters of Energy in University of Auckland. I live in the CBD area at one of the apartments nearby the university, and it's really convenient as I can walk around the city and the university. However, it was really hard for me when I first arrived here. I've had a lot of problems with the accommodation agent because he increased my rent 3 times. Can you imagine that? Even all of my friends have the similar problem with me. We are all struggling with these unexpected rent increases. And I hope that the university or someone else like stakeholders can help me and my friends who are in the same situation. We need a better support from the stakeholder and fair treatment from the landlord.
Recently, housing issues have been in the news, highlighting the urgent need for better accommodation solutions. We are Group B, and our goal is to improve housing contentment for international students. Our mission is to help students like Nugi find comfortable and suitable places to live.
This is our process.
Nugi is just one of many international students that's struggling with housing. We are focusing on Southeast Asian students because they make up a big part of our international student community. About 30% of international students at UOA come from Asia, especially Southeast Asia. These students often face unique housing and cultural challenges. To really understand their issues, we talk directly to international students from Southeast Asia through interviews. We conduct empathy interviews to understand their thoughts, emotions, and motivations, which help us identify their needs and design solutions to meet those needs. Our participants come from 5 different countries, bringing rich cultural diversity. We spoke to 16 students evenly split between men and women. 15 are master's students and 3 are PhD, covering over 10 programs like energy, public policy, and civil engineering. We choose postgrad students because many are on scholarship and looking for affordable housing. They often avoid university-provided student accommodation due to high costs and choose cheaper options. Additionally, because postgrad students are more mature and prefer not to stay with bachelor students in shared facilities. Understanding their needs is a key. That's where the empathy map comes in. For Nugi, it shows his frustration with constant rent hikes and unresolved maintenance problems. By listening to those stories, we can better support them and address their specific needs. Next, we use the journey map to visualize the steps students take from arriving to settling in. Nugi's journey highlights his struggles with finding new accommodation and dealing with property managers. This map helps us identify key support points to ensure a smooth transition and warm welcome. This initial interview is crucial as it helps us understand and address the specific needs of our international students, making them feel at home in Auckland.
Thank you, Rizky, for sharing about the part of Discover Research.
Based on our 16 empathy interviews, each of us has gathered a unique set of data. Now we are moving on to the next step, define problems, which is a process of turning raw data into meaningful understanding, also known as data analysis. By the approach of reflexive thematic analysis, the first step, storytelling rounds, we carefully analyze the collected data into meaningful codes. The second step, we categorized codes into 8 bucket themes, and then we clustered and refined the codes, seeking to identify any connections between them. Lastly, we created thematic maps. As you can see, there are 3 main themes. The first one, finding the balance between the need for privacy and the need for community belonging. Number 2, stressful financial situations lead to housing precarity. Number 3, systems in New Zealand set up for finding rental housing are unsupportive, competitive, and exploitative for international students. In conclusion, a sense of safety, belonging, and community will offer a sense of confidence for the international students, which will aid them in their studies as well as their contentment in their housing. Also, if international students are empowered with the skills and the knowledge to navigate the rental system in New Zealand, it will give them the confidence to advocate for better housing conditions and a better chance of feeling content in their housing. The thematic analysis was really useful at identifying key themes, which will help us to address our design challenge.
Thank you, IC, for sharing the thematic analysis. It helps us to form the user profile. Our user profile is about Nuki. From the introduction, we can see that international students face many challenges in finding affordable accommodation when they first arrived in New Zealand. They lack support and guidance in housing, community belonging, rent increases, etc. So the POV was we met Nuki from Indonesia, who was flatting for the first time either at home or in New Zealand. We were surprised to learn that they had no support in finding and how to find accommodation. It would change the world if it were easier for international students to find appropriate accommodation before and after they arrived in New Zealand. Based on the POV, we have generated lots of how might we questions. For example, how might we support international students to be in a safe environment? How might we accommodate international support for advocacy services around renting prices? We finally defined the how might we to educate and support international students in finding accommodation in Auckland before and after they arrive. Next, let's move on to the ideation part, which helped us to brainstorm. We discussed the buddy system, university responsibility, uni club, policy changes, etc. We had outsider input to help us think outside the box and consider things like stakeholder support, physical office, and relations between Maori and Asians. Our group members voted on 3 ideas, and we chose the buddy system, which helped to connect students, giving them social support and helping them find suitable housing.
Thank you, Eva, for how might we and ideation. Our next step is to consider our stakeholders. We need to determine the best way to invite our stakeholders to support our buddy system design, especially those who can influence the accommodation needs for international students. Some of our key stakeholders include international students, the Ministry of Education, and the University of Auckland. Some motivation for us designing an accommodation-specific buddy system is providing an in-person support system that will help meet social needs as well as practical ones. It was interesting to us to find out that international students lacked real-world knowledge about the host country, for example, the cost of living, rent, and how to navigate the transport system. This gave us incentive to involve our key stakeholders. Next, we moved on to our steeple analysis, which is an analysis tool that helped us to think broadly about what outside factors might affect our design. What stood out to us were social factors such as the need for cultural reciprocity and understanding this affects international students' ability to find housing as they have different views surrounding etiquette. We aim to soften the effects of culture shock with our buddy system through providing relevant cultural information. We considered technology aspects that could be useful for our design, like the effectiveness of social media platforms for this age group. We considered how international students have affected the demographics of the CBD and how this could be a great incentive for the government, restaurants, and property managers in a CBD to support the interest of international students.
Thank you, Naki, for explaining the stakeholder map and the stippled analysis. We will now proceed to the prototyping process. From our ideation and analysis, we selected the buddy program as the most viable option to help international students in finding a suitable accommodation before coming to New Zealand and help with the transition as they arrive. The buddy system has two main users, the mentor, which is the local buddy, and the mentee, which is the international student. Using the university app Kahu as a platform, we will integrate Kairahi, the buddy system program, as part of the enrollment process for international students. Kairahi translates to guide or leader in Maori, which fits well with the idea of the buddy system. In the Kairahi, users can then create their profiles and add their interests and hobbies to help them relate with prospective buddies. Mandatory training on Tikanga Maori is offered to all of our volunteer mentors as a requirement prior to profile creation, as well as proper training in handling buddies, specifically in helping with accommodation needs. This can be done via online Zoom seminars. Once all the profiles are created, mentees can select their mentors based on their personality profiles, hobbies, and interests, which could help them connect with similar communities with the mentors. The mentee can interact with the mentor and ask for help regarding accommodation and rental contracts, as well as general questions like cost of living, how to get around, cheap meal options, and the like. The platform has a social wall with information on upcoming events such as orientation weeks, whakatau, open house, and virtual viewings of accommodations and university activities for the school year. As the mentee arrives in New Zealand, they will be paired up with their mentors for the whakatau, followed by a shared cultural lunch event at the start of the semester, where kai is served. Mentors are encouraged to accompany mentees to look for accommodation at the start of the semester if the mentee doesn't already have a place to stay. Also, mentors can help in moving in by accompanying mentees in buying furniture, appliances, and the like. To encourage engagement and recruitment, the platform has a gamified point system that encourages everyone to join the upcoming events and actively engage in daily and weekly challenges with their buddy pair. At the end of each quarter, all existing mentors receive Prezi cards for their help, and the buddy pair with the highest points receive the Best Buddy badge that will show up in their profile. Previous mentees are also encouraged to become mentors so that they can help with future international students in the next quarter.
Kia ora no tātou. Thank you very much, Keith, for sharing your kōrero on the prototype process. As you heard from Keith, we are looking at introducing a buddy system. Our theory of change outlines how we plan to achieve our goal in supporting international students with housing. Starting off with our antecedent condition, which is international students coming to New Zealand experience many barriers finding a suitable accommodation. The housing space is expensive, it's competitive and complicated. They often compromise on things like safety, cost, social connections and space in their accommodation. They have a limited time here as students in this country, so have a tendency to put up with more than they normally would at home. This can be very stressful and frustrating. In terms of our target group or profile, they are international students from Southeast Asia, engaging in tertiary study and wish to live here in Auckland. They vary in age and need support navigating various challenges in finding suitable accommodation when they arrive here in New Zealand. As a team, we have identified 4 critical processes. These include recruitment and training. For volunteers who are wanting to be buddies, we'll be looking at offering cultural training, information on housing processes, stakeholders and other support services. Education will also be offered to our international students around the rental system itself, and importantly, their rights as tenants. Number 2 would be looking at an orientation/matching. This will be an opportunity for international students to meet their mentors and be provided with an information pack. Part of this orientation will include the introduction of the app, where they will be paired up based on their interests. Number 3, we're looking at a official welcome, or a whakato. A formal welcome at a local marae would be rolled out on a quarterly basis for our new international students. This is a very important process for us to indigenously welcome international students, not just to our service, but here at Aotearoa. Number 4, we'd be looking at supporting with ongoing social engagement by way of events, shared kai, quiz nights, prize giving, celebrations, and other events.
Kia ora T. Thank you for sharing the beginning process of our theory of change.
My focus is discussing our proximal outcomes. The first proximal outcome is sustained relationships between the buddy and the international student during their stay at Auckland University. Sustained relationships are the first step towards improved social connections, which in turn support integration of the international student to Aotearoa and to Auckland University. Linked to sustained relationships is regular check-ins by the buddy and the international student with essential support services at the university. Regular check-ins provide support for both the buddy and the international student if there are issues or problems. They can share issues to someone outside of the relationship and identify options that support a resolution. Research by SOCCLEAD in 2016 of their buddy system identified the orientation program as a successful vehicle in connecting the buddy and the student together through their joint attendance. This provided a positive encounter to developing a successful long-term relationship. The second proximal outcome is improved housing contentment. Buddy systems will connect international students to resource sites on property information that will improve their confidence in finding suitable housing. It will also provide information on advocacy and legal rights of tenants. Duane Prash's 2012 Doctor of Philosophy thesis on the accommodation challenges of international students found that students believed it was their responsibility to find accommodation, however felt that the university should have resources to support their success in locating accommodation that suits their needs. These two outcomes are achievable. The 5 impact areas our group identified for international students and the buddy system are improved cultural appreciation and understanding of their new country, enhancing the reputation of Auckland University as a supportive environment for international students, improved confidence for international students in advocating their needs, improved health and well-being of international students, improved success in their academic studies. The key moderator for the success of this innovation is, of course, the University of Auckland.
After developing our theory of change, we moved on to our logic analysis.
This involved researching academic material related to our buddy system design to find evidence that it would meet the needs of our demographic and achieve its intended impacts. We found many examples of buddy systems which were successful. We analysed their specific design elements and what the impact for the students were. Our findings reinforce how important the need for appropriate housing is for international students, as accommodation issues had a significant impact on the studies and sense of security and belonging. We discovered that many of the issues surrounding housing in New Zealand were socio-economic. We are aware that our social innovation is not about changing government policy and solving the financial and housing crisis. We are aiming to improve the overall holistic experience of the international student, which will in turn make their experience of housing better through feeling socially connected and integrated into the culture of New Zealand. We found a great example of a meticulously designed Matariki-themed dinner featuring Māori cuisine. Food repeatedly emerged as a clear way to connect with one's own culture, relieving feelings of loneliness and fostering connections with a foreign culture.
Our research reinforced one of the main stresses of international students being the complicated and slow process of looking for accommodation, with no useful help from the university provided. One quote from a Vietnamese international student staying in Auckland reads, "The only thing that made me exhausted was looking for a house. The first 2 weeks made me super tired." There was a lot of pressure to settle quickly, as they needed to start on their studies. The students generally did not expect the rental system to be so hard and so different from back home, with a lot of paperwork needed before they could move in. This meant, once they were finally accepted for a rental property, they often accepted whatever was available, which generally compromised their needs. We discovered that gamification is an effective motivational tool, and we believe it will function to motivate both our buddies and our international students to engage with our program. New Zealand had over 59,000 international students enroll in 2023. New Zealand is a popular destination for international students, as it is an English-speaking country and has a great reputation for higher education. International students have started to be viewed as an export industry. New Zealand international students brought in $5 billion worth of revenue in 2017. There is a high concentration of international students in the Auckland CBD, which has largely shaped its landscape. It creates diversity in the restaurants, activities and religious spaces, which all add to the cultural value and vibrancy of Auckland. Our research showed that in New Zealand there is a law designed for international students called the Code of Practice. The aim of this policy is to promote their well-being, the success of their achievements and protect their rights. The experience of international students of going overseas is an opportunity for them to grow. It can enhance their career opportunities, provide an opportunity to make friends, improve their cultural competency, language skills, and build their confidence.
Thank you for listening to our pitch on implementing our buddy system at the University of Auckland.
Yay! Okay, wait.